the 14 teams for next season. What's your thoughts on that one, Lammy?
Yeah, I don't really want to talk too much about that, Trev. Obviously, with the game, that's my private focus for tomorrow. But I will say that I think it's the right thing. I'm very supportive of the group that's voted, and I think it's the way that we can grow the game looking forward, and obviously more exposure for the sport moving forward.
And we can just add one to that. Derek is obviously a leader in this. Does he discuss any of this with you at all, Lammy?
No, that's none of my business, mate. My focus is just to stay on the Lee Leopards, which are going pretty good at the moment. I don't want to be distracted in any way, but I'm sure that that's taken care of itself.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Obviously, then Warrington tomorrow. What's your team news going to be like? Who's in and who's out?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same team as last week. Obviously, with Robbie Mulhern coming into selection and Ethan O'Neill. That'll be finalised tomorrow morning. Both trained today with the squad, so we'll have to wait and see on how they pull up.
Robbie, obviously, and Ethan, two key players. How much have you missed them?
We have missed them, but funny enough, we've won all 3 games without Robbie being there. So it's promising in the sense of the group. I think sometimes when the group develops, it's usually off the back of players not being available, and the players that have come in to do a job has certainly done a great job this year. Not only in the instance of Robbie in the middle, but also in just about every other position. So I'm really happy and proud of the group for what we've done and what we've achieved without our senior players there at times. And if they play, I'm not too concerned. If I prefer that Robbie did play tomorrow, but I'm not too concerned if he didn't, because I think the players that are doing the job and have done the job are certainly up for it.
Well, I'm sure you'll have done your homework on Warrington. What do you make of them this season?
We've run through them all week. We've played them twice already. Obviously, once in the Challenge Cup where we were really disappointing. But right across the board, the players that they have are all very talented, and all they need to do is click. And I know that the meetings that they've been having there will certainly be off the fact that they need to win tomorrow. It's a must-win game for them. So they're coming here as a desperate team. So we've just got to match that intensity and make sure that we deliver the DNA of the team that we've been at, especially over the last month. We have been inconsistent ourselves during the season, but the last month has been bang on. So we just need to repeat that.
And when you look at the Warrington side, key players, George Williams, obviously Mark Seed, any though that you're particularly keen to pay attention to?
I think Walker's a chance of playing there as well. Vaughan and Dufty had their best games against us in that Challenge Cup semi-final, and we've got that in the forefront of our minds as well, of what happened there. So we've got a big job at hand, but I think this week's been more about us and trying to maintain the momentum that we've gathered over the last 4 weeks. There's no reason why another sellout crowd here, so great for our fans and in our club, but more importantly, we want to put on another performance that makes them proud. So, we're in a bit of a lot of confidence behind us at the moment. So we'll head into that game with that belief behind us.
And what about your relationship with Sam Burgess? How are the two of you get on?
Yeah, good. There's no issues there whatsoever.
No, I was just wondering. Sam's come over. I think he's found it tougher maybe than he anticipated. What's your view on that?
I don't really have an opinion about that, Trev, to be honest. I'm just concentrating on making sure I do the job here. It's difficult enough as a Super League coach, whether you're coming first or whether you're coming 12th at the moment. I think it's the same role. There's the pressures on performance, and no doubt there's some pressure on him and Warrington as they sit outside of the 6. But I think my focus, as I mentioned to you, is we sit in a really good position at the moment, and I can't worry about him or them. My focus is on me and my team and making sure that we keep progressing in the direction we're heading.
Well, you've got Warrington and then you've got Leeds at home. Most of your games are at home.
Yeah.
Is it difficult you're playing so well now? How are you going to keep that momentum into the playoffs? Because you'll have to do that and up it as well, I presume.
Yeah, I think that the concern for me over the last couple of days is we've gone into a week off, and you want to keep playing when you're playing great rugby like we were. You're always thinking in the back of your mind, hopefully we can fall back into system and in the form that we were 10 days ago. So that's been my focus, is just making sure that the team is concentrating on what we've done really well to get to where we are, and hopefully we can produce another performance like that at home. I think we're in a really good place. I think the outcome will be in our control without a doubt, and I'm looking forward to that.
Well, final one from me. Obviously, you'll have seen the news regarding Mickey Higham. What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously a legend of the club and a legend of a few clubs, and a player that we respect very highly here. And we know he's going through a tough time with his family, and we're going to get right behind him and support him like hopefully everyone else does. So we send out our best wishes.
Cheers. Thanks, Lammy.
Thank you, Trev.
Hi, Lammy. How are you?
Hey, Ben. All good? You okay?
How was your week off?
Week off was good. It wasn't a week off. It was a I'd rather say down week. So plenty of rest and recovery, a little bit of sun. So all good to go.
Yeah, did you manage to get away?
No, mate. I think most of the boys stayed around, but it was just a good opportunity to make sure that got away from rugby in some way, some sense. I think half the teams played last week and half the teams didn't. I think a lot of the teams got away, which is a really good time of the year with 8 games to go. But I think when you do that, there's got to be a reason behind it, and we've all come back in with a focus of what's left in the season and certainly capitalise on what we've done.
Yeah, I guess on one hand, the sort of down week came at a bad time for you because you were, in a rich vein of form. But has it been helpful in terms of just resting up and making sure those lads are ready to go for these last 8 weeks?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out a little bit more tomorrow night, but I feel like we're in a really good place. So I'm looking at it positively, and the players deserve that rest as well, I feel, off the back of the form that they've been in, and it's up to us now to deliver that and repeat it.
How do you sort of set your stall out now? Is the goal keeping in touch with that second spot?
It's just about us, really. I still think we've got 1 or 2 gears to go, and that's just being honest and fair. I think we've been inconsistent for most of the season, but with that, we've found a way to win, and that's a sign of a side that has belief and trust in each other. And I think the leadership group that we have within is certainly driving our standards here. And so for us, we're aiming it as high as we can possibly be. We're not looking behind us. We're a club now that has our expectations have certainly grown. I think our fans have as well, and so with that come those performances.
Obviously, Warrington, you mentioned the Challenge Cup semi-show in there. Is that something that's been mentioned this week to put right? I know you performed well in the league against them, but in the semi-final it was probably one of your disappointing performances this season.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I did mention that at the start of the week, but it was the only time I mentioned it. I think it was in the first 5 minutes of our first session back from the break. I needed them to be reminded about how we felt about that game. We were really poor that day and didn't give ourselves a chance. But that's in the past now. But it is also a good enough reason to want to make it a little bit more personal. So, that's the way that it'll unfold tomorrow night.
Just a couple of admin checks really on some players. Presumably Keenan's all right. I know he failed at HAA, but he's fine.
Yeah, Keenan will be fine. He's gone through all that return to train and return to play protocols, so we're really happy with him, so he'll be in the picture.
And how far along is Darnell? How far away is he?
I think Darnell will be available probably for selection or consideration next week. And so if that's the case, then so too will, depending on how Robbie pulls up today and how Ethan pulls up, those two will probably come into consideration moving forward. And then Aaron Penne, I think, is probably only 2 or 3 weeks away off the back of that. So we're slowly getting there.
And just lastly from me then, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I think the club earlier this year was on about the competition not being able to really afford to expand. So I guess the question is, what's changed since then that the club voted for it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I have no information about that, Benny. Sorry, mate. So I'd prefer not to make any comment on that at this point.
No problem, Lammy. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, Ben. Right, who's up? Callum?
Hey, Adrian, you all right?
Hey, mate. How are you? Okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, you mentioned earlier when you were speaking to Trev that you said that Lee have been in, like you said, pretty good form. I think that's probably been quite modest. In terms of, and you also referenced that you're kind of looking at that top 2. Do you genuinely think that is now attainable, getting into that top 2?
Yeah, why not? I think Sam, we're 1 point behind Wigan. There's 8 games to go. If we win all 8 games and Wigan slip up once, we're in. So, that's the reality of it all. And I think as a club, we want to keep setting our standards high. We've never been in this position before as a club in Super League. And it's where we want to be. We want to get used to these sort of scenarios and situations and put some pressure on the teams in front of us. They've got to keep winning as well. And we've got to keep winning. We've got a really tough draw like everybody else, I guess. But what we're in control of is that 80-minute performance every week. And we're pretty excited about that, including tomorrow night.
You've said all season that this is a team that's going to improve for the back half of the season. And I think potentially at times you almost, you say it so often that you kind of dismiss the comment, or I kind of listen to him and was he's potentially it kind of goes under the radar how many players you had to come in and how many injuries you had earlier in the season. Now that it's all coming to fruition, do you kind of just sort of sit there and smile and think, well, yeah, I told you all, and
I told you so. No, I think what we've been really aggressive with is we've got a 5-year plan in place. And we've been aggressive with turning over the squad to get the team that we feel is competing at the top end at the right time of the season. And we'll continue to do that every year whilst I'm here. And I think when you bring in 12 players, which we've just about done every year, 12 new players, it takes you time to build cohesion between groups and people and friendships and combinations. And I'm aware of that. I've been around for a very long time, and you can't get your best rugby in the first 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. To be fair, I didn't think it'd take this long to get it where it is now. But what we've been able to do through our squad is to find wins along the way, albeit by 2 or 4 points or 6 points. It doesn't matter, but it all counts when it matters most. But what I'm grateful of is that there won't be many changes between this team this year and next year, maybe a handful of them, and that's only going to make us better for whoever we decide to bring in. And the season, we've still got another 4 weeks roughly on potentially bringing someone else in. Not saying that we're going to, but there's an option to do that. So, and we like probably not too many other clubs have got the funds and financially in a position to do that. So we want to be aggressive with all of that. I think whilst it's just about August, I think we still have our best rugby ahead of us. There's still no Robbie Mulhern in that 17. There's Ethan O'Neill still not in that. So. We're excited about where we are, but we also understand that the minute you take your foot off the gas, you can get hurt in this game, and we just want to keep our feet grounded. We want to be just true and honest and about our performances and our actual work rate and work ethic between the group.
So then balancing the fact that you said that you don't really want to bring in a huge number of recruits, maybe just a handful next year, do you foresee yourself filling the 10 quota spots, or will you be in a situation where you maybe have a couple left so you can recruit mid-season next year? Yeah,
it's a difficult one because, whilst the quota spots have gone up from 7 to 10, the salary cap remains the same. So you have to juggle the pieces and put the puzzles together on how we do that. And I think, we've done with that as good as any other club in the last 2 or 3 years. I think we've recruited, and whether we're in or out, retention or recruitment, better than anyone. So I'm sure we'll get that right, but if there's 10 available there, I presume most clubs would like to do that, but we'll see how that pans out as that new season unfolds.
Obviously with the salary cap not going up, but obviously the sort of demand for the overseas players potentially increasing, just how important is it now that you've got that academy, and what do you foresee any players potentially jumping into the squad next year from that young group?
I think the future is our junior development program, scholars into academy and reserves in the first team. It's our first year, the first time the club's had every single team in the club operational in the same season. So we've taken some massive steps ahead. I know we've done that on the field, but off the field as well. The growth that we've had commercially, but also with our junior base has been incredible. And that's something that a lot of our focus will roll into over the next 3 or 4 years, is how we keep our local juniors in the system, because that's our future. So we're also aware of that, and there's a fair bit of funding going into that, but also time and effort into making sure that we get that right so our best kids stay here. There's a handful of them playing in the top 3 or 4 clubs already that probably should be here, but that's just the beginning for us, and that's something that we're excited about moving forward, is that if we can bring more juniors into our club, into our junior programs and systems, and then eventually represent the first team. That'll be awesome. But for me, I've tried to bring one local junior player into our squad every year since I've been here, and we've done that so far, so that'll continue as well.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting few years. Thanks for your time today, and best of luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. All right.
No, I don't know if there's anybody left, Lammy. I've just got one question. I think Jack Hughes is his 300th game tomorrow. What can you say about Jack?
Well, I haven't been briefed about that, mate. I'm not sure if that's the case.
I might have misread that, but I thought that was his 300 Super League
Yeah,
game.
I'll
Anyway.
check up on that, Trev. If it is, it'll be great, but he won't be too far off. So, but obviously a great stalwart of the game in our club. But yeah, I'm not too sure on that, mate. So I'll just give that a pass for now.